Hi, guys. So today I want to talk about my journey and how I found myofunctional therapy. So we will go way back to the beginning of my birth and my story. Okay. When I was born and I had a vacuum assisted birth. So there was vacuum assistance to get me out of the birth canal. I would get like little tings in my neck, like cringes, kinks. Growing up, I remember I was like maybe like 4 or 5 when I remember these happening. I started speech therapy. Before I started kindergarten, I had a hard time saying my R's. So I was in speech therapy and continued doing speech therapy my whole elementary years, really not getting much better with my pronunciations of the R's, right? Not knowing why. Um, I would get sick. When I would get sick, it'd be like, oh, just a sore throat for some people, right? I would get so sick. Like it felt like I had the flu when I would get strep, and I'd be out for like a good longer than a week pretty often, but not often enough to like really be of concern to get your tonsils or adenoids really looked at. Then when I was middle school age, I got diagnosed with activity induced asthma. After all my studying now, I know it's likely because I was just mouth breathing. I was only able to get air up here. I had to bend over to get air into my full lungs and diaphragm. What's interesting to me is I remember going to that allergist appointment and they had me breathing like in and out my mouth. And I get that's like at times what's needed, especially for different testing. But that's what they were kind of like looking at and not really addressing the why. I only took my inhaler like a couple times and then grew out of it, right? When I was 19, I was an adult, so I was laying on the couch at home and on my back, and I was telling my mom, I was like, I cannot breathe through my nose when I'm laying on my back. Like, I can't at all if I'm laying on my back. So then we saw an ENT when I was 19, and that's when I had my deviated septum corrected, right? So I had pretty bad deviated septum from when I kind of broke my nose back when I was 16. So got that corrected, was fun. And then when I was 21, 22 years old, now I had been graduated dental hygiene school. I'd been practicing as a dental hygienist and I was getting sick. I got strep throat, I think like 4 times in 1 year. So I had to call out of work because I was like, I cannot see patients like this. I can't be that close to patients. Like, had to find a temp or someone to cover me or just reschedule these patients. And that's when I realized, like, okay, I need to get this taken care of. Went back to my same ENT, had him assess my tonsils. He ended up taking my tonsils out. We did it over like Christmas break, fun stuff. Not really like knowing, oh, okay, you're mouth breathing. This might be something that we need to look at, right? So my niece was born. She had her tongue tie addressed. And then that kind of like opened my eyes a little bit into tongue ties. When my daughter was born, that's when I was questioning our pediatrician. I knew there was possibly a genetic link there. And then I made the connection like, wait a minute, I'm probably tongue tied too. I had all of these red flags as well. So after having my daughter going through that journey with her, then I started looking in patients' mouths. I'm still a dental hygienist, but I was looking in patients' mouths as I was working as a dental hygienist and like looking like, okay, tongue tie, like this is why they're having jaw pain, just putting everything together, right? What do I do from here? So then I found a myofunctional therapist who I worked with virtually, and she helped me a lot. I was having migraines like at least once a week that would put me out for a full day. At this time, I was a few months postpartum, just questioning honestly, like, how am I going to continue being a mom, providing for my family if I'm having these migraines that are putting me out for like a complete day, just so miserable, taking a toll on my mental health as well. So, just not knowing what to do. I also knew that, okay, I'm going to be having another child, hopefully at some point. So I also want to like make sure that I'll be okay and like I can have another child mentally and physically. So I was seeing these specialists because it got to the point where I was having like tingling in my face pain. My whole head would just ache, and I had tooth pain, right? Out here, right? The tooth pain. I was working as a dental hygienist, had been a dental hygienist for like 8 years at the time. In the dental chair, I'd constantly be trying to like take x-rays, look at what was wrong with my tooth, have my dentist look at it, figure everything out, right? All in all, I figured I'd go get a root canal, even though the tooth, there was nothing wrong with my tooth. It had been worked on a couple times. It had been, I think, had like fillings 2 times on it, possibly 3 fillings on that same premolar. But all in all, I decided to go to get a root canal by the endodontist, by the specialist. And they did the testing and they're like, I don't know, like this is just odd. Are you sure you want a root canal? And I figured, yeah, like let's do it. It helped a little bit, but not everything. I was also getting a lot of pain in here, noticing my pulse was stronger on this side, not knowing what to do. So I saw my ENT. He's like, like I think everything's okay. I saw a cardiologist, and I told the cardiologist, and she's like, no, like I think like you're okay. And I just like it's like, no, listen, like I want you to actually look into this. So then she felt my pulse because at the time I could feel too that like this side was way more musculature. When I put my head back, this side just popped out way more, like it was cut off, right? I wanted her to look at it as well. Finally, she listened to me, thankfully, and she thought, wow, your pulse is a lot stronger on this side. She ordered some extra testing for me. The testing came back that there was like something she saw around my thyroid area. She told me, okay, I'm not a specialist in this, so I want you to go see an endocrinologist, I believe, or I'm not quite sure, but a thyroid specialist and get a thyroid ultrasound. So I got a thyroid ultrasound, followed up with a specialist who, all in all, said, like, I just have wider cartilage. So there's a range, and I'm in the wider range with a smaller neck. Similar to the ENT told me, like, oh, you just have a small neck here. So I'm like, okay, cool. That doesn't explain like why I'm in so much pain, right? Um, that's when I thought, okay, I'll give myofunctional therapy a shot, see if it helps. And it did. It helped me so much, lessening my pain, my migraines, my clenching, grinding my teeth. I did 4 months of myofunctional therapy. All in all, decided to go through and get my ties released. Not everybody has to get their ties released. That's why we're looking at function. That's why I did it for 4 months before. But for me personally, my hyoid bone, which is this floating bone right here, was kind of being held up. And then I had my past of surgeries, possibly some scar tissue in the area. Anyways, my scans showed that there was some calcification of a ligament right here. So I got that confirmed by a specialist when I asked them, I showed them my scans. I went back to the ENT, and it wasn't in my radiology report. I had a CT of my neck in this area, nothing in my report at all. But I I downloaded the report thanks to some groups that I was able to join. Thank you, Facebook. But I downloaded the report, uploaded it, and I was able to view it. And then I showed my ENT, brought my computer in, and I said, hey, look at this. Is this Eagle syndrome? He said, yes, I see some calcification of the ligament there. I said, what do I do for it? He said, I don't know, like there's some specialist that will give you a shot. I think he said in your tongue, but it's like a steroid shot, and I don't do it. So I'm like, okay. I said, am I tongue tied? I've been doing myofunctional therapy at this time. It's like, I don't know. That's not my specialty. It's not his. I've been in the dental field. I haven't known about it. Nobody I've talked to has known about it. Whose specialty is it, you guys? We're not taught this in school, which is why I'm not only getting the education out to providers, but you guys, because you might be going to these providers wanting to know the answers, and these providers just haven't, they don't know, just like I didn't know. They don't know. It's not their fault. They just aren't taught this. They haven't done or had a reason to do the extra training there. So it's when I started doing myofunctional therapy. It helped me a lot. I ended up, okay, I'm going to get my ties addressed, my ties released. At the moment, there wasn't a provider, a trusted provider in Las Vegas who was doing releases on adults. So my myofunctional therapist was like, okay, Dr. Zagi, he's like the king on the West Coast. Why don't you go see him, right? So flew to LA. My husband, great support system. I also did this when I was pregnant, mind you, because I was like, okay, once I have my second kid, when the heck am I going to have time to go and fly to California and get this done? So got the clearance. They said it was okay and everything, and got the releases done. Flew back that same day. I recommend at least like staying a night if you can. And then, but it did feel nice to like be home. I was able to like take a bath that night. You really need to like relax. It's so much on your system. All in all, during this time, I was still working with my myofunctional therapist as well and continued working with my myofunctional therapist to get the best results. Ended up starting my company, and here we are today. All of that being said, now, when you are looking to get a tongue tie released, myofunctional therapy is so important. And it is so important to be doing specialized myofunctional therapy with a therapist all through the process. There is so much that you need to be working on. I've known from seeing my daughter not really doing any feeding therapy before and after, seeing different patients, right? Then seeing my son where we did the feeding therapy before and after, and then different patients where they have done the therapy and the different results and everything. And it is so imperative to be working with a myofunctional therapist through the process. Let me know if you guys have any questions.